Greetings comrades, this is part 2 of my video report on the Korean the Korean Friendship Association meeting in London today. Now, one weird quirk of Alejandro is he now completely views himself as a North Korean patriot, a nationalist. He refers to our government, our country, our villages, our army, etc. He feels very much a part of it. I don't know if he follows their religion or not, but yeah, he says he's dreamed of doing it since he was 16, and he's very happy that he's doing it. When I kind of questioned him on World Revolution, he makes a big deal about kind of the self-reliance. Obviously, that's the Juche, it's their ideology, and one point he makes is that a country should be completely self-reliant with regards to its military. It should produce all its own weapons, train all its own soldiers if it can. And he criticises countries like Cuba and Vietnam and all these third world countries like Iraq and Libya and Iran. He's convinced Iran and Syria are going to fall. And basically because they have to buy their weapons and stuff from countries like China and Russia and stuff like that. He says on the one hand, well, it kind of weakens you because that's a rug that can be pulled from under you at any time, and that it just essentially makes you the puppet of another imperialist country. So it's better just to be completely on your own, which didn't make sense for the Vietnamese. It didn't even make sense for the North Koreans, since they had about 1 million Chinese soldiers helping them out when they got invaded. But I guess that's before you kind of work this out. And another strange point he makes, and he cites WikiLeaks when he says this. He says that if the North Korean government happens to collapse, China's going to come and occupy them. So they don't really trust. North Korea doesn't trust anyone at this point. And goes on. He talks about the army. He says the North Korean army is one of the most powerful armies in the world. It's got 1 million regular soldiers and a 7 million militia, who he calls Red Guards. So that's about 30% of the population is kind of mobilised and ready for war. The drop of a hat. They have cutting-edge military technology, apparently, not aging Soviet tanks and old AK-47s. They've got nuclear weapons capable of attacking any city in America, regardless of the fact that most of their ICBM tests actually didn't work properly. They think they can drop a nuclear bomb on Washington, and that would throw the entire of the USA into anarchy, because everyone's got guns, and therefore everyone would just be looking out for themselves, and it would be anarchy. Basically, the entire US would collapse from North Korea dropping one nuclear bomb over Washington. And the funny quote from him was, "We have spies everywhere." And in this, he's going on about, he gives 2 examples. The first one, apparently they have spies all in the US military and the US government. North Korea's got lots of spies. The second example he gives is, he talks about the sunshine policy of a previous North Korean government, before they were replaced again by the Grand National Party, who are the mainstream conservatives, and he talks about them. He says their president was pretty big on reunifying Korea, and that the official story is that he jumped off a cliff and killed himself, but according to their spies that they apparently have, it was actually like he was murdered, and that was covered up. And it made me laugh that they have this giant spy ring, because on the other hand, he kind of goes on about they spend a long time meditating on their kind of diplomatic missions and embassies that they have all over the world. And seriously, like half an hour kind of listing all these different countries where they have these different things going on. And he complains that during the difficult period of 1995 till 2000, they had shut down loads of their embassies and spent the money on importing rice and stuff instead. They still had enough money for it left over for this giant spy ring all over the world. He goes on quite a bit about the other Southeast Asian countries. He laments the fact that, of course, that Vietnam and Laos and the others started bringing in socialism again, because it's destroying their culture. A big thing with them is kind of preserving the indigenous culture, and defending their indigenous culture, much like the EDL. And that he says his favourite two countries in Southeast Asia are the former communist Laos, which has kind of moved on to the sort of Vietnamese model of market socialism, which he describes as having still some of its socialist charm, and Myanmar, or Burma, which is under a military dictatorship right now. And he describes that in very positive terms as well. And he says there's a big communist movement there, which, yeah, well, there probably are some communists. I doubt they can operate freely, but I don't know, it's coming to him. He actually makes quite a good case for why North Korea is so secretive, and he basically just says that, you know, well, we don't release any of our statistics, we don't release our GDP, any statistics regarding economic data or, I don't know, population data and stuff like that. And we don't announce to the world anything that we're doing until we've already started doing it, so that, you know, kind of enemy countries don't kind of use it against us and try and scupper the plans and stuff. And he gives the example of, like, say we want to sell loads of gold to Poland, and we announce it, America would somehow scupper that deal and get Poland cheaper gold or something like that, which, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Now, earlier when I was talking to him about you know, if they still stand by Marxist-Leninism with regards to world revolution, he takes some time and he criticises Marx's atheism and Lenin's atheism, and says that, and he stresses that Juche is weaved in you know, elements of their kind of indigenous religion and Buddhism and stuff like that into the ideology. It's actually in there. So basically embracing what Marx would call idealism. And he does the quote of, you know, oh, Marx said that religion is the opiate of the people. And then the Stalinist lady who was kind of championing Alex Jones and 9/11 conspiracy theory, she pipes up and she says, oh, well, you know, he meant it in a good way, because he was saying that, you know, it's the heart of the heartless world, but in a way we Marxists have our own spirituality, and she basically meant that we have we have our own kind of morals and stuff, and a, you know, feeling of camaraderie and internationalism, which resembles spiritualism apparently. And there's they had a funny little thing where he's trying to get across that, no, we literally believe in the supernatural, and we've incorporated that into our ideology, rather than, she was saying, you know, we kind of have our own sort of secular spiritualism or something, which was, you know, pretty amusing. But what made me laugh is that after that, you know, Marx basically did say that in order to properly emancipate the workers and humanity as a whole, they have to fight against superstitious ideas. That we have to have, you know, we're not supposed to encourage the heart of the heartless world, we're supposed to create a world with a heart, which those comrades appear to have forgotten. Yeah, so what really struck me about this was just, yeah, the sheer nationalism this guy was kind of displaying. Again, he talks about, you know, North Korea's interests. You know, the whole world could change outside 100 times. North Korea will stay exactly the same. And you know, I asked him what the average North Korean person thought of all the struggles that are going on in the outside world, and he said, well, you know, of course they realise that it's all to do with capitalism being shitty and falling apart and stuff. But what he basically ends up saying is that North Koreans aren't that interested in what's going on in the outside world. They only really care about Korea. Which I doubt. I'm sure that your average North Korean is very curious about the outside world. And yeah, they put this policy of peaceful coexistence, basically. You know, yeah, it's not even really Stalinism. It's Khrushchevism. if you will, revisionism. They're not interested in struggling against capitalist countries. They want to collaborate with capitalist countries and capitalists. They want capitalists to come and invest in North Korea. They don't want they want state capitalism. That's from what this guy, who's an official of the North Korean government, explained. What they basically said: we want state capitalism. We want to work with foreign businesses. We'll work with any group that's happy to have us, capitalist or otherwise, come and join our joint economic ventures, invest in our special economic zones and stuff. We'll build shit for you. We got cheap labour. It's fine, you know. And so, in addition to this kind of peaceful coexistence, state capitalism, this extreme nationalism, this kind of not really caring about the kind of the fate of the world, only caring about the outside world insofar as it affects North Korea. And you know, that's essentially what the Americans do. The American government is only looking out for America's national interests. It just happens to have the upper hand. It's got more to lose. You know, if North Korea gains the upper hand, who's to stop them with this ultra nationalistic ideology they've got? You know, what's gonna stop them from intervening in some country or something, or doing whatever they want? Their good word? No, it's this. The root of this is in their ideology. The Americans are just more clever about it. They actually realise you have to trade and collaborate if you want to become a strong and prosperous political and economic force in the world, which is what the North Korean official said he wants North Korea to be. And what disturbed me the most is that, you know, this kind of wave of admiration of the people who were there towards this guy. And, you know, I made one kind of stab at saying, you know, kind of questioning their ideology and their political stuff. And, you know, it's, oh, we're taking the independent road to socialism, which is the same thing that everyone who I criticised Gaddafi said to me. You know, we're taking the independent road to socialism, and all it really means is that, well, we're going to do it our way, and we don't care what anyone else thinks, so fuck you, and we don't care how it affects anyone else, so fuck you, you know. And it's, these people, they really are useful idiots. They do not think critically. You know, I'm not, okay, maybe North Korea is a giant prison camp, maybe it's not, but they have ideology, official stuff on paper, which you can criticise from a Marxist perspective, and these people don't do it. You know, they take everything in, accept everything, and that's what annoys me about Stalinists, and to an extent Trotskyists as well, but from a slightly different position, because there are no Trotskyist countries. But Stalinists do not think critically. They accept everything that they're given. They're, you know, if you criticise North Korea, they call you a zombie who believes in the Western media or something. They're as much zombies as anyone else, you know. And yeah, they just swallow the party line, basically, of this strange man from Spain who's become a Korean ultra-nationalist, who's, you know, for a country that essentially supports state capitalism and militarism and nuclear armament. And I'm thinking, okay, you know, apparently they have no AIDS in their country. Apparently they have no domestic abuse in their country. They apparently provide free housing, free rations on top of wages, self-reliance, all this crap, all this stuff. They apparently do it, but you know, beyond that, essentially they're an authoritarian, ultra-military state, ultra-nationalist state, which to me it strikes me as fascism, and the whole environment of the place felt fascist. You know, just kind of, well, you know, I don't quite agree with what your government says about this particular issue. Wave of hate, you know. And I bet they said I was a Trotskyist spy, and there was a reporter there from the Independent who looked very kind of confused about the whole situation. He asked me what I think, and I just thought, this was a really weird experience, man. You know, I'm a communist, but I'm not with these guys. You know, but, well, whatever. So that's my thoughts, you know, of it. And that's why I say to all of you, you know, learn to think critically. I mean, sure, support North Korea if you want to. I wouldn't recommend North Korea being invaded. I would oppose that. I would support the North Koreans if they were invaded by South Korea or China or America or anyone else. I would be on their side. but be critical and think critically. And like I say, you don't have to believe everything that Western media says, but there are stuff that the North Koreans put on paper about their ideology, and you can question that, and I encourage you to do it. Red salutes, comrades.